Hello, my name's Michelle Noonan from Divi Soup, and in recipe number 25 I'm going to teach you how to create a 2, 3 and 4 column square blog layout in Divi. So for our ingredients we're going to need the Divi theme from Elegant Themes and some existing blog posts with featured images set. This is going to take you around 10 minutes to complete. And for our preparation, we're going to set up the section and the blog module. Just before we begin building, I'm going to show you what we're going to create today. So here you can see we've got a 4-column blog layout using the Divi blog module in grid mode. And you can see it's got a nice hover effect. And the way I've set this up is it's really easy for you to change. The other feature in here is that your post title will always be set absolutely center. So no matter how long it is, it will always be equally set from the top and the sides. So if I just scroll down and show you the 3-column layout, and obviously 3 columns is default in the Divi blog module in grid format. So you can see we've got the same hover effect. And then if I scroll down a bit further, we have the 2-column layout. So let's get started. So you want to head into your WordPress backend and add a new page and make sure you've got the Divi Builder activated. The first thing you're going to want to do is add a single column, and in the row settings you want to make this full width. And save and exit. And then you want to add the blog module from the module options. And for our blog settings, we're going to set the layout to grid. Your post number should be a multiple of whichever column number you're creating. So I'm going to show you how to create the 4, 3 and then 2-column layouts. So we're going to do the 4-column first. So I'll select 8 for my post number. And then you want to include any categories that you're going to show your posts for. Then scroll down, we want our featured image set to yes. Content to show excerpt, even though we're going to actually hide that anyway. Read more button off, show author off, show date off, show categories off, show comment count off, and pagination's entirely up to you. I'll leave that on for now. And then you want to make sure that featured image overlay is also off because we're going to do the overlay ourselves. So you're going to leave all of the other settings alone. And the only other thing you're going to do in the blog module is to go into the custom CSS tab. And in the CSS class field, you're going to add a class of ds-blog-square. So if we take a look at this right now, you can see we've got a pretty standard grid layout going on with our blog page. So we're going to add some CSS to change that. So before we add it, I'm just going to explain to you what we're doing here. So this first section of CSS is what gives us the square effect. We're using the object fit property. Now object fit isn't supported by IE or Edge, so you can leave this out and just have your standard size rectangular images if you want to. And if you do use it on IE and Edge, you'll see that your images do become a bit stretched. So it just really depends on who your audience is and whether they use IE and Edge. Okay, the next section here hides the excerpt using display none, and then in this section of CSS we're just correcting some margin and some padding issues. In this section we're positioning the post relatively so that we can then position the post title absolutely, which will allow us to have it sit over the top of the image rather than below it. So this next section is where a lot of the fun happens. Here we're positioning the post title absolutely, and then we're setting it at the top left of the blog post. We're setting the width and height of the post title to 100%, and we're giving it a padding of 40 pixels so that the words don't go right to the edge of the image. We're then setting a background overlay of black at an opacity of 0.3. So you can change this to whatever color setting that you want, or you can remove it altogether. We're setting the text color to white, the text align to center, and then these outline properties here give us the white border that you saw. So it's a white border, but it's in from the edges, and for that we're using the outline property. And then our display flex, flex direction, and justify content properties are what keeps the text in the center vertically rather than sitting at the top of the image. So as I said, however long your post title is, it will always sit at the absolute center, both vertically and horizontally. And then this final part of the CSS here is just giving us a half a second transition on our hover effect. And then our hover effect is set here. So what we're doing with the hover effect is we're changing the background color. So I've got white with an opacity of 0.5. We're changing the color of the text to black, and we're changing the color of the outline to black and moving it so it's around the edge of the image like a border. So we need all of these styles for our 4-column layout. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it in the page specific CSS box. So you can add it in your child theme style sheet, custom CSS box in Divi theme options, or in the page specific CSS box as I have. So if we just preview that now, so you can see here we've got our nice hover effect on our images. But what we need to do is we need to make these more square, and we also need to change this to 4 columns. So we're going to add another custom class and a little more CSS. So in the back end of your page, you're going to want to open up the row settings, and then on the custom CSS tab, in the column CSS class box, so not the first CSS class box, the bottom one, you're going to add in another custom class of ds-blog-4-column and save and exit. Now we're going to go and grab some more CSS. So this is our CSS section for the 4-column layout. The first section here is what changes our 3 columns to 4 columns. And we're going to add some margin on the right of each post so that they're equally spaced. And then this section here actually removes the right hand margin from the last post in the row. So every 4th post will not have a right margin, so that there's equal space on the left and the right of the complete module. Here we're just adding some margin to the bottom of each row of posts, so that's equally spaced as well. And then here we have our media queries. So what we're doing here is we're setting the height of each post image depending on the screen size, and that's how we're making them square. So if you're not going to be using object fit, you can completely leave this section out as it won't matter. But if you are going to be using it, then I've added media queries in here which should cover most of the common screen sizes, but you can add more, and you can also change the values. If they're not square enough for you, you want them slightly taller, slightly shorter, then you just need to change these values in each media query. So I'm going to grab this 4-column section of CSS, and then I'm going to add it in below the CSS that I've already added and save that. And then if I preview the page again, you'll see now we've got our 4-column layout and our images are all pretty much square. So if I just go into the device inspector in Chrome and change the screen size, you can see here that we're going to stack when we're on iPad, and they're all still nicely evenly spaced and they're still square. And then if we go to an iPhone, you can see that they're in one column now and still all nicely evenly spaced. So you can see that no matter what screen size, you've got a reasonably equal square for each of the posts. So that's the 4-column layout. Let's go and have a look at the 3-column. So for the 3-column layout, all we're going to do is open up the row settings again. And in the custom CSS tab, we're going to change this class to 3. So ds-blog-3-column and save. And then here we've got our CSS for the 3-column layout. So as the default for the blog module is 3 columns in grid layout, we don't actually need to add any CSS to change that because that's what we want. So we've just got our CSS which adds some margin to the bottom of each row of posts, and then our media queries to make sure that our post image is square on different screen sizes. So I'm going to take this CSS again and then open up my page specific CSS box. So I'm just going to find my 4-column CSS and I'm going to replace that with the 3-column CSS and save, and then preview again. So now you can see we've got our 3 columns and they're all nice and square, and if we change the screen size, they stay nice and evenly spaced. And then finally we'll go for 2 columns. 2 columns is slightly different. We need to open up the row settings, and in the custom CSS tab we're going to change this to ds-blog-2-column and save and exit. And then we've just got one more step for the 2 column. So if you open up the blog module, and in the custom CSS tab, after the custom class we entered earlier, you want to leave a space, and then you want to add ds-blog-square-2. So just putting an extra class in here because there's just a couple of little extra tweaks we need to make for the 2-column layout. So save and exit, and then we're going to get the CSS. So here at the start of the CSS, we have our section that changes the columns to 2. Then the next section is where we add some margin. And then again, the section after this is where we remove the margin from the right-hand post. So basically, every other post, we're removing the right-hand margin, so we've got equal spacing. Here we're setting the margin beneath each row of posts. And then again, we've got our media queries to make our images square. So if we take all of this CSS for the 2-column layout and go into my page specific CSS box. So I just need to find my 3-column CSS that I added and replace that with my 2-column. And then preview again. And there you can see we've now got 2 columns for our blog layout, all nicely evenly spaced with our hover effect. So if I show you on iPad, we go down to 2 columns and keep our square images, and then on an iPhone we're down to 1 column. So that's it. The accompanying blog post for this recipe, and to grab all the CSS, you can head over to divisoup.com/R25, and you've also got the option there to download the layout for free. You can also sign up for the newsletter to get all new Divi Soup content delivered straight to your inbox. Thanks for watching.